It's a great morning in Delhi. I don't know how many of you have been traveling. I came to know that she's just flown from Chennai today in the morning. Let's start with a small introduction. I am Smita, as we have already come to know that. I work for Third Eyesight, and I am the one who's moderating the session today. The session is about the impact of the omni-channel presence unified together and how has it impacted the customer journey. So to start with, I would like to introduce the term omni-channel in a little different way. We do say that omni-channel means the brand is present everywhere on all the channels, which is the physical touch, the websites, the mobile apps, the social media apps, everywhere. But I put it a little differently. We think that it is more of an omnipresence. It's basically a seamless experience that we want to give to a consumer, a seamless experience throughout the journey of the customer. It is a journey where we, as a brand, would want to support the customer and have a less frictionful, less stressful journey, and they can basically reach to a point where they are loyal enough to the brand. That's from the brand's end, for sure. The journey, if we largely say broadly, the journey is from the customer to the consumer to an advocate or a loyalist. We have with us today Mr. Arpit from The Man Company. Then we have Doctor from Chosen. And we have Samayesh from Beanley Coffee. I would like our panelists to introduce themselves with the brand story they carry today for us, as they are present they are omnipresent, present everywhere. And which all touch points are they basically touching for the consumer? And also, if they can tell us a little bit about what are the challenges they are facing in their journey right now. Yeah, over to you, Arpit.
Sure. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Smita. So my name is Arpit, and I lead the D2C business for the Man Company. Right now, as you might be aware, Man Company is into men's grooming essentials for men. We are into the business for last 9 years, and Man Company is now at a present where we are an omni-channel brand present across all the major marketplaces on D2C app. We have our offline stores, around 65 of them across India. Overall, this journey has been the first step to start the overall as a business was starting online, and then it transitioned to offline because figuring out the overall the entry barrier to offline is a bit higher. And given that it has been gradually how we have came up to here, and this is again on an upward hill so far, and we look forward to double down this offline number in next 1 year from now. I think this is all about the brand, and also one more thing. Man Company this year also got acquired by Emami, so now part of the overall Emami group, and yeah.
Okay, I have a very interesting question for you. The most important part, that how do you think, you guys have started in 2015, correct? So how do you think has the men's grooming sector evolved since then, and how do you see the competition, and how do you see the customer journey through it?
You see, overall, when the Man Company was started in 2015, it was the second player who entered the men's grooming space at that time. And now, and primarily at that time, there were very limited SKUs for beard care, and perfumes have been there for so long. But primarily, the audience at that time, the target audience, were people residing in metro cities. How that has transitioned over time, that today we have 60% of our business from non-metros. Oh. And only 40% of them being from metros, all Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, right? So, and this transition has been from 100%, you can say from 100% it has come to 40%, and how the tier 2 and 3 are going with the growing penetration of internet, with the awareness of all the UPI has a role to play, Geo has a role to play, and overall ecosystem has a role to play. And that's how the penetration is still there, and that's where we see in tier 2 and 3 the next phase of growth that comes will be from there.
Okay. Thank you. So over to you, Doctor.
Thank you for having me here to share my views. Thank you, Smita. I'm Dr. Renita Rajan, a dermatologist by profession and an entrepreneur by compulsion. I'll explain. In my 20 years as a laser dermatologist and a procedure dermatologist, what I had come to see was that I was struck by the lack of options that specifically cater to skin of color in the treatment, post-treatment, and maintenance domains. So I was compelled to start a product division, which then grew on to become independent and became chosen. Yeah. And more recently, in my avatar as the author for Sunscreens and Skin of Color, the initiative led to understanding how we put something so carelessly on our skin today and may face consequences after. So we enabled or enhanced our division to include a holistic option. We moved into cosmeceuticals, nutraceuticals, and devices. And that is with the objective of delivering results for now, but being safe for always. For me, D2C initially is jargon coming from a doctor. I would rather call it deferring to the customer or deferring to the customer, wherever you are. Because when we started out, we said, okay, we don't have options, let's make some options. But because that channel was to be a pharmacy associated with the practice, we said, so be it. And then when people started, then the word of mouth publicity increased and we had a demand and we needed to step up during COVID to be online. And that picked up, so we said, so be it. And then the channel moved there because we wanted to maintain the consumer's experience from being just a consumer to becoming a customer and an advocate in terms of continuing their medical experience. We call it taking home the dermatologist.
Okay.
And then as more, again, this deferring to the user, deferring to the customer, and increased in a different channel when dermatologists started adapting the protocols and adopting the products. And now we have other international treatment providers who are also treating skin of color. And so we've recently started a doctor-specific channel, and we've also moved international, specific to wherever we have the demand. So we've been flowing where the customer takes us. So I would reiterate the D2C as deferring to the customer and beginning it there.
Okay. If you could also explain us a little more that where all is chosen now available and how did you selected those channels?
So just reflecting from what I said earlier, we started out at a retail store and then are currently available online. Plus, we are available store-in-store with multiple dermatologists across the country. We have a doctoral division. And currently, we would be starting operations as of early next year in a few countries in Southeast Asia, as well as in the Middle East. Those would be more retail, but also with an online presence to support. So the product portfolio is such that some are facilitated by the doctor. Some are used as a step down, which means they are available in laser clinics and spas. Okay. And then the others are OTC, which can be accessed by the consumer. So sometimes the journey begins with the prescription, but ends with maintenance, because our focus is also about health and longevity. Absolutely. So then we flow together like that.
Oh. Thanks a lot. Hi, Samayesh. We would want you to introduce yourself. I know we are already in the third wave of coffee and you are from Beanley Coffee. So we would want to understand a little more about how have you achieved this journey and how do you think that the customer journey has evolved while you have introduced the product to the market?
Perfect. Guys, I'm Samayesh and by training I'm an engineer and by passion was purely someone who had coffee as a beverage that I wanted to consume on an everyday basis. But it turned into a profession very quickly and it happened faster than I assumed. But for the last 4 years, I've actually been convinced that we are not in the third wave of coffee anymore. We've actually entered what is now the fourth wave of coffee. Yeah, we are. And it's more of a global phenomena than just something that's happened in India. So I truly believe that the third wave of coffee was short-lived and we've now entered what we believe is the fourth wave of coffee. And the fourth wave of coffee is is in its core and in its heart very different from the third wave. We've drawn parallels to the second wave of coffee with the fourth wave, but that's what I say. The third wave was very, very short-lived, and it didn't, in my opinion, it didn't find consumer market fit for very long. So we're now back to settling into what was the second wave, and we're just pseudo-naming it the fourth wave of coffee, but we're effectively coming back to the second wave.
Sure. If you could tell us where all the product is available and what all products do you have in Beanly Coffee, and how do you think it is something which is convenient for your consumer, and how do you think has it impacted the journey of the consumer?
I'm going to start a little differently. I think with Beanly, what we've constantly believed is we're building the future of coffee in India. And when we say we're building the future of coffee, we thought that with an average age of 28, India was probably one of the youngest countries globally right now. And how our consumption patterns were going to be different is we'd be more on the go in nature, more frill-free in nature. So with Beanly, we've been simplifying great coffee wherever you take it, whether it's at home or it's at a touch point when you find us offline. It's been the idea has been to simplify great coffee, and when we are simplifying it at home, it's a freshly brewed bag. We've been pioneers in that space. In fact, for the longest time, I don't know, a lot of you may not know, but from 2019 to 21, we were the OEM manufacturers and backend for anybody in the FMCG coffee space in India. And I pretty much say anybody without any hubris, but any brand that worked in India was possibly past the Beanly factory at some point. Today, the brand is present across 2,000 plus offline touchpoints. We do have an active quick commerce presence. We are present in the HoReCa segment, as well as with our own brand stores offline now. So I think in the truest sense, we are omnichannel as a brand, and sometimes to our peril, but it's something that we've truly believed in ever since day one.
How do you think it has impacted the customer journey for you?
I know this was one of the questions I was supposed to prepare for, but absolutely on cue. I think it's been very, very tough to tie in the brand story when you grow from format to format. But it's as much as it's been a tough decision, if you stick to your core values as a brand, it's not been very, very tough. But it's just training yourselves to stick to your core values. So if it was simplifying great coffee, whether it was across our price formats, whether it was across the formats that we delivered at, or it was across anything else that we did, if we stuck to our core values, it was a lot easier for us to tie each format into the other. So, but it happened on different levels. It happened on a branding level, it happened on a customer delivery level, it happened on an execution level, but the core always remained the same. If you tied yourself into the brand mission and you did it, it was a lot easier to put it all together. But it requires discipline to tie it into that one mission when you're going from format to format.
So you integrated basically all the formats together?
Absolutely, and I think, like I said, it required that discipline to tie everything that you did, every step that you take to that one brand mission.
So the next question of mine would be to Doctor. So Doctor, if you could just explain what are the challenges you faced while planning and strategizing to enhance the consumer journey in the beauty and wellness space more specifically, and how did they overcome them?
Also, answering you as well as drawing a little from what Samayesh said.
Sure.
The idea behind 𝐚𝐻𝐭 was that we would be a surrogate to help the individual complete their skin health journey. Now, this also requires a certain level of education, so it means that we cannot go anywhere we choose to. So we cannot grow outwards like a sphere. We had to be amoebic in our growth. We could flow where we could. So then it also meant that taking those opportunities where somebody adopted the product, and then you had to build an ecosystem around them. So for us, developing communities with the customers, co-creating products with them.
Okay.
Currently, we have the tinted sunscreen project, which is completely co-created for the shades, for the color matches, everything as a community. Then we have a very vibrant mom and baby community because they do not have products which are endocrine disruptor free. So then they come up with what they want, and there is a lot of, one of the pillars of how we have been able to develop is by listening very hard. And we've had the opportunity, we've been blessed with the opportunity of listening to tens of thousands of customers over the last 2 to 3 decades, literally. The key talent comes from having 20, 30 years of experience in dermatology. And then we've kind of tried to go amoebic here, flow where we can, and then of course consolidate, and then move on to the next. I'd say we've done all kinds of, like he said, it's difficult to tie it into a disciplined way of growing. We've done all kinds of being able to spot opportunities and all kinds of work around developing that opportunity forward. Our challenge still remains that it is not fast beauty. It is not a beauty brand. It remains something that offers longevity, which again has to be understood for people to really keep using the same behaviors over and over. So I guess our upcoming initiatives of we are building out some education, I would call it language models around where we can engage customers better. But we also feel that our doctor channel strongly speaks for the brand.
Okay. Thank you. My next question would be to you, Avnish. How has omni-channel strategies supported you to reach to the diverse markets, and especially beyond the tier 1 markets? And how did the customer journey shaped up for you moving from online to offline?
Okay. So as Man Company started, the first thing that we started was with digital. And over the time, we realized when we started seeing the penetration in tier 2 and 3. So what started happening there, we get to see and identify the hotspots that where the majority of the penetration is there, what are the areas where we can see, and then combining it with the overall availability of expansion in offline. Right, that and and even before entering into a offline segment, which is overall capital expensive. So there, before even doing that, we tried to digitally penetrate into those regions and check that how's the response towards it. So for example, if we have identified that Meerut, for example, is a city where we would like to expand and we are seeing a good digital penetration from there. Then we started focusing more, try to identify what categories are working there, and then see if we can go digitally very aggressive in that region and see what's the response of it. And if those type of tests give the positive outcome, and that marries with the offline possibilities and opportunities lying there, then we have taken those decisions to move in those regions. And that's how we started moving into offline, and that has only sharpened over the years. We are into offline for last 5 or 6 years now. And since then, this approach has taken, like, this was the initial approach that we started with, and we even follow today. But now there are very category-specific approach has taken, just like what category of products are working in which region, and then doubling down on it first digitally, and see how's the online response to that, and then going more aggressively into offline into those regions. So basically that has been the first approach. And then once we have decided to take the decision and move ahead with the online, to go offline in those regions, then the obvious thing that we have done is to activate the customers in those regions, to let them know that we are also available offline, and see how has been the overlap been between the offline and the online customers, how they are responding. What is the overall repeat customers who we first acquired, their first touch point was online, and how they are responding offline. By also activating various offline exclusive offers for the customers who are maybe dormant in nature. So those kind of strategies have been followed to keep the good balance between offline, and at the same time penetrating into newer markets other than tier 1.
While you mentioned about the digital penetration, that was the next point which I wanted to ask all of you basically. That omnipresence doesn't only mean that we are present in all the retail channels, be it the physical, the web, or the mobile. It also means that you are in and around the consumer who you have actually been selected by. So you mentioned about the digital penetration in Meerut before launching the product offline. So can you please give us an example of kind of campaigns you had, and how did you draw the customer towards the offline stores through digital penetration?
So, for example, we work in 6 categories of product, from head to toe, starting from hair, face, shave, beard, body, and perfumes. So overall, we try to identify that what category online is working good in that particular region. The first insight is what category is working, what's the operating price that it's working, whether it is a discount-centric approach, or is it the product pull that is coming up. And then identifying that are there offline opportunities available to expand? Is there an offline infrastructure that can support the overall approach there, just like availability of various malls and all of that? And does it go with the overall our brand vision? And if all the check marks are there, then for those particular categories which have been doing really well in those regions digitally, then doubling down on those categories digitally, just like running performance ads, and see how's the response in that particular region for those categories of products, maybe top 2 or 3. And then we get an insight ki, okay, these categories, the insights are now turning into facts that these categories are really working in these regions. And then we were able to get a sense and put that sense also into the overall visual merchandising that we do. That's how it enables us to identify and go there.
Thank you. So my next question would be for you, Samayesh. What are the strategies being used by you to enhance the customer engagement? And if you can share any of your experiences which you had where you could successfully engage the consumer.
So I think strategies have been different between channels. So since we're
Of
talking
course.
about since we're talking about an omni-channel approach, I'm going to address each of them. We've obviously been very aggressively present online also, and that's been the largest part of our journey. But despite doing that, I think what we saw 3 years down the line was that our offline channels were growing equally well with products that found a product market fit online. So there are obviously products that for us had been instant failures also, and you didn't find product market fit and we stopped pushing. But the some products that we found growing online did grow well offline as well. But the strategies to ensure customer engagement between online and offline were absolutely different. So for example, the online market required us to be present on different marketplaces to find the right approach to have engagement with the customer. We had emailer marketing happen. There was retention marketing happening and lots of other things. The offline market was absolutely different, and though we actually were not very scientific about going offline with similar products in the retail format as the Man company probably was. But when we found that product market fit for those products offline, the strategies were absolutely different. So for example, at our retail stores today, we just launched yesterday a consumer loyalty program where post every 10 purchases, the 11th purchase is on the house for us. So it's very different from what we've done online. It's native to us. It's not something that we're using third party for. It's something that comes totally in-house. It's a loyalty pass that you're trying to engage the customer with at own brand stores. But when you go into retail stores, you had promoters and going out and sampling, which was the only active way for us to ensure growth. So it's been very, very different, but it's also been exciting looking at different channels and figuring out what strategy works for which channel.
Thank you. If you could, again, I'll come back to you once again. I wanted to understand what metrics do you use to measure the success of an omni-channel approach? And how do you measure the impact of the customer journey?
So there are some primary matrices and some secondary matrices used to look at the impact of omni-channel. First is what's the overall repeat rate of the customers in the overall ecosystem, irrespective of whether they are buying again online or offline. Second is what's the level of overlap from online to offline and offline to online. So what's that percentage of customers that are acquired, that their first touch point was online and then they are transacting offline, and versus customers who have their first touch point was offline and their next touch points are online. So basically this, if we will look at from percentage basis, the customers who first came to us offline and then they have been transacting online, that percentage is higher as compared to people who first interacted online and then gone offline. But in absolute terms, that number from online to offline is higher versus this, and that is also because of the obvious reasons. We are available in all the pin codes online, but not offline. So, but that gives us a very directional view that what are the products that leads to what is the repeat rate of the product? Is the customer buying the same product online, but what we have, or is it the different product? He's buying cross category from other mode channel. So what we have seen is, that's a very interesting point, that people who first transact online, offline they go and buy the same product, but people who buy their first product offline, they go and to buy any other product online, right? That may be also because of the variety of products available online, which is the entire catalog is available on the website, but that may not be
Can it also be the trust that the customer develops on the brand offline?
Yes,
And
but
then-
to identify the trust and the loyalty, I think that we look at certain matrices, just like the North Star being the NPS. What's the overall NPS of the customer who have done a transaction from either of the channel? And this NPS is again further subdivided into what's the overall NPS, what's the brand NPS, product NPS, and how's the channel NPS? How do they like, for example, if somebody is transacting offline, how did they like the overall store? How was the interaction with the BA there? So that is there. But from online perspective, we ask them how were the delivery timelines? Are you satisfied with all of that? And then finally arriving on an NPS. That also gives us a very good directional view of what are the areas we need to improve on and work upon. So, these kind of matrices we look at with respect to different customers in the channels.
Thank you. I would like to ask you, Doctor, about it, that what role does personalization play in an ideal omni-channel customer journey? Because you mentioned that your products are quite adapted by the consumer when it has been subscribed or has been prescribed by the doctors to the consumer. And how do you think can brands achieve it?
I'll answer that from the two customer segments that we have. One is where the doctors pass on the products, and the other is where the customers directly pick it up from online, either by word of mouth or because our marketing has been fairly minimal. This is the year that we are actually expanding, because primarily from a point of view of supply chain and all of that, we've been setting up the base. So then as we are seeing these new incoming, typically through online, what we see is that where there is a need, either as a problem-driven need, somebody has a problem and they want to fix it, or where they have very high levels of awareness about longevity, or if they have a tangible benefit from looking young, looking performance, where your looks match your performance expectations, we feel that those are the areas where we have scope for personalization. And the LTV in these cases is quite high compared to people who browse to know about, experience something new for the novelty of it. So where we have been able to achieve very good connect with these consumers is that, as evidenced by a 70% repeats and our high AOV, LTV comparison to other Shopify stores based on Shopify benchmarks, is that it's been possible for us using the communities, and it's been possible for us to also have customer success specialists, and where required, a medical intervention as well, or a support as well, guidebooks, a whole lot of educational stuff, events together, and between the brand and we have a combined following on Instagram of 250K. Okay. So we are also available as a community to support questions, and there's a lot of back and forth that goes about, be it product development, feedback. We are always very close to the customer. When it comes to the doctor, we also see very high adoption in terms of numbers of repeat orders, and in terms of, we also develop protocols in how these products must be used. So once there is a similarity in terms of being a procedural clinic or a laser clinic, we do feel that there isn't a lot of consistent push required as the doctors experience how this can sync with their practice. So where we achieve sync, we also offer personalized support, saying, okay, you could use this in your practice in a different way as compared to how you might have learned about it initially. So those two areas where they see the benefit of longevity, either be it practice building or longevity in terms of appearing young and healthy for longer, those areas have worked very well for us.
Okay. Samayesh, you just mentioned about how inconsistent the channels are and how inconsistent the approach towards the channels would be. Can you give us an example that how did you handle a situation where a customer experience has been inconsistent and you try to integrate it together across the channels?
I can't recall a specific instance, but as a brand, like I said, it was always very important to tie into that discipline of simplifying great coffee as we built, and when we transitioned from being an online first brand to being very largely driven by our offline channels now. It was we were in this dilemma as a team that we wanted to build out stores that were somewhere they didn't fit in with our ideology of simplifying great coffee, because either they didn't fit into our P&L, or they didn't fit into the customer ideology, or we just didn't feel good about them. So unifying that entire experience and still maintaining exactly what Bindi always wanted to do, innovate with our spaces, innovate with the products that we do, and at the same time not compromising customer experience. That is the last time I think I've faced a tough experience trying to have a unified consumer experience between the 2 or 3 different channels that we have.
Okay, thank you. Anish, coming back to you, can you share a case study or an example where an omni-channel strategy directly led to an increase in the profitability of the business? Specifically when you moved from the online to the offline channel and you integrated the whole.
So initially, in the initial stages of offline expansion, you definitely have some of the customer cohorts lying in the cities which have high penetration of the brand, but low visibility or low opportunities offline. So identifying those regions, and if you exclude the overall capex expenditure that goes into expanding offline, because that's a long-term investment that you do. If you look at from that perspective, we have been able to achieve profitability initially for first few of our stores, because at that time initially in tier 2 specifically, just like Jaipur, Lucknow, Indore, some of the examples where we expanded in our initial days. So these were the regions where we identified that there's a customer demand, there is already a brand penetration there, and there's a scope where we can expand. So that gave us a way to expand there, and that has and we have been profitable there since like few months, in 3 to 4 months there. On an average, we become profitable in 8 months.
Okay.
But initially, this number was very low. But with scale, at the same time, this number on the average keeps on going up, because now you are penetrating markets which have comparatively lower brand recall. So initially this number to hit the break even was used to be 3 months.
Thank you. What would be your advice would you give to a brand starting its omni-channel journey? Keeping in mind that you are on a track which is not completely omni-channel in a sense, but it is still omni-channel in a different track, completely different track. You're not available on the OTC counters currently.
I'd stick to the redefinition of D2C. I would say defer to the customer, because that is a relatively easy starting point which has helped us achieve a product market fit rather early in our journey. So as long as I think we do, as at least as a doctor, as a medical professional coming into product development, of course, there is an obsession about how good the product has to be. But it also has been a very important pivot to put the customer at the center of it, saying where will they use it, how will they use it, what are they going to do with it afterwards, what happens to them, what happens to this product in their body down the line. Absolutely. So it's been completing the journey for them, with them, not just now, but for the future. So I would say this approach where you put the customer front, a front center of everything that you do, potentially helps us think of ourselves as a generational brand or a legacy brand, over and above trying to get a market share, which is extremely difficult given that the beauty industry is just overrun with a whole lot of products because of the recent opportunities.
Yeah. Samayesh, to sum up, I would like to ask you, what do you believe are the must-have elements for a successful omni-channel strategy?
I think I'll sum up with what I started with. It's that discipline of unifying your channels to your brand mission, and if you're capable of doing that, and if you maintain that discipline, I think it's good enough to have a successful omni-channel approach.
Thank you. Anyone from the audience, if you have some questions for us, the dice is open for the questions now.
Hi.
Hi.
I had a specific question. If you're able to measure the degree of cannibalization that happens for your particular brand versus quick commerce, offline, online, if you're able to develop a blended CAC, if you're able to track that number somehow. And the second question is, what goes into your mindset while choosing a retail location? Is it primarily footfall? Is it the premiumization of the mall, or just insights on that, on those two things?
I believe the first, is it a particular question to somebody or?
Anyone can answer.
Anyone can. So,
I'll answer about the cannibalization with quick commerce. See, overall, yes, there have been a cannibalization up to some extent, where the demand, we have to figure out what exactly are the products that are doing really well on quick commerce versus their impact on other channels. We have seen that in recent months, where the gifting was one of the things, just like on Rakhi, on Valentine's. Until Valentine's, it wasn't there, but on Rakhi, for example, it was very visible, where our gift sets worked really well on quick commerce versus our other channels which had a longer delivery timelines. But overall, quick commerce have been a positive contributor to the brands. So that's the good thing. And overall, the cannibalization, I think it's not cannibalization, but it's a more collaborative and more classified approach that is needed. A brand needs to identify that what are the products that consumers may need immediately, have an impact buying, impulse buying, and then versus what are the products customer can wait for, which maybe have some value add, which is not available immediately. So I think that is overall needed. But overall, as a brand, as I mentioned, quick commerce have been a positive contributor. So even if it is eating 10% of other channel, but overall adding 20% to your overall business, that's a good sign.
I also would add that that's where you basically integrate all the channels together. So tomorrow, if you quickly want, in 5 minutes, you want a man company product, the product is available at your doorstep. So it would be more of an integration rather than the cannibalization in a longer run. Next question, I think Samayesh, you can respond to that how do you select the retail points?
We're very early into our retail journey, but again, in our retail journey, the playbook is still a work in progress. That said, there are lots of ways to look at a location. Specifically, when you're looking at high street locations, we generally look at the population density around it, the general income that you'd see, whether it fits your customer market segment. We also look at age as something that is very, very specific to our brand. That's specific to our online consumer. So when we see our direct-to-website customer, we know that they're averagely aged anywhere between an 18 to 25, or even if we're pushing it around 33, 34, we don't averagely our largest consumer consumption patterns are from there. So we try and keep the audience around our stores young. In high street, in office locations is obviously captive audience, so you have footfall, so that's a great location. But if you look at your daily sales, I think captive locations have footfalls on very particular days. So Monday to Friday works for them, and then Saturday, Sundays are a slump, so your ADS takes a dip on those locations. So there are lots of factors. I'm happy to address any of your questions. If you want, you can write into me about it, and I'll address them on the locations.
I hope your questions are answered. Any other questions? Sure. We can't hear you. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Two questions, one appreciation. I'll start with Arpit. You spoke about blended CAC, right? So how are you actually tracking the CAC happening over the online, that's probably Meta, and the CAC happening in the offline store? Is there a way you're measuring it, tracking it?
So basically, the measuring online CAC versus offline is a bit difficult overall. But when I spoke about blended CAC, I meant whatever the investments we are doing to acquire new customers. And we have been also digitally activating the regions where we are expanding offline footprints. So what are the investments we are doing there vis-a-vis what are the new customers we are acquiring which didn't have interacted with us in the past. So that's how we calculate the offline CAC, and similarly the online CAC for the investments that we do to acquire new customers overall.
Okay, so it goes by cohort. Online,
yes,
offline,
yes,
offline
yes.
consider with all CAPEX.
Yes. Not CAPEX, but only the investments done as a marketing activation.
Understood.
So I actually want to add to that. I think to myself, how I justify it is it's very important to see that the channels are not very different. When you start going offline, there is a direct-to-consumer approach still there. And that offline interaction with your customer is more direct-to-consumer than your online interaction will ever be. And I'm saying that by a mile over the last 3-4 months. When I've been offline, that's more direct-to-consumer than it's ever been online. And how we build it into our unit economics is, I know our average daily footfall on a store-on-store basis. We project it on an annualized basis, and then on a 5-year basis, divided by your lease, and that should give you a very, very healthy average of your CAC per customer over 5 years.
Got it. I have an experience, but yeah, I'll speak to you on that. Second question with you only. Have you heard about this mushroom coffee?
I've heard about it, but I haven't been inquisitive enough to try it ever.
Okay.
It doesn't sound like the most appetizing
My question to you
combination.
would be, have you tasted the mushroom coffee?
I think I've heard about it a lot. Like it's been your propaganda in US, like
Yes,
healthy
yes.
coffee and something.
Yes.
So just want to check whether Beanly coffee is into
Is
it.
introducing it or not, yes.
It doesn't sound very appetizing, but on that thought, I'll go back and try mushroom coffee today.
Okay.
All right, appreciation.
Thank
I
you.
think doctor, I think she's Chennai Pune. So categorization was a very good move. Really appreciate that. Yeah.
Over here, I'm already been given a signal that we are over our time now. So thanks everyone for being here today.